I just want to give you permission. Shopping is not vain. Grooming yourself is not shallow. Shopping for clothes is not this girly girl fluffy thing. It's serious. It has real economic benefits. It has real relationship and networking benefits. And take the time to do this because it will make everything else you build go faster and smoother. Hello, my name is Alana Newman, and welcome to the Speaker Salon. Today's episode is all about design and the importance of prioritizing design. A lot of people think that design is fluffy and it's not necessary, but actually it is a very important economic strategy, and it's been proven that companies who are design-driven outperformed the S&P 500 by 219% over 10 years. This is according to the Design Management Institute. The McKinsey research found companies with strong design practices produced 32% higher revenue and 56% higher shareholder returns. And some design investments produce enormous return on investment. Estimates suggest every $1 invested in UX can return $100. So when you look good and present yourself well, or have your product look good and have your product presented well, it has a direct economic advantage. And we know that with dating, you don't show up to a date looking sloppy if you want to actually secure the companion. We get ready, we do our makeup. Men, they take showers and groom. You go get a haircut. You go pick out an outfit and you make yourself look good because you want that relationship. And same thing with audiences and customers. If you want your product to perform, if you want a relationship with the customer, it behooves you to invest in design and aesthetics. And it's very frustrating for me, and I don't know if it's misogynistic or what it is, but people think that the feminine proclivity for design is somehow not strategic and like high impact. It is high impact. And so I just wanted to start with that. It's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, Beauty First Method. It's true that people judge you based off of how you look. And it's true that they will assign greater value to that which is beautiful. They're more willing to pay high prices for it. They're more emotionally attached to it. They gaze at it longer. It captivates attention, and that has economic advantage. So we're dedicating this episode to the importance of design. I have a branding client who is at a point, well, it's a duo, and they're doing outreach and they're trying to book meetings with people who these relationships could greatly impact their business and their vision. Like all their dreams could come true with these partnerships. And so in anticipation of these meetings, my recommendation to them has been, you need to get your visual identity dialed in before you book calls with these people. And in every launch where I have been successful, I build the brand and the design first before I ever call anybody, before I do PR, before I shoot it out to journalists, before I pitch it to people who I really want them to say yes. I will make sure my visuals are on point. So systems thinkers and people who are not visual, they think that they can just articulate and speak and it all makes sense. Like the system that they have in their head will translate to other people. But visual communication and craftsmanship of design and making visual what was in your head is a really important form of communication. And our brains have so much information coming at us all the time that we have evolved, we have adapted to make these instantaneous conclusions about if something is going to work, if it's quality, if it's trustworthy. We have to make a snap judgment as to, is this a good use of our time or not? Because our time is precious. It's not infinite. It runs out, and we have to make a split-second decision as, is this worth my time or not? And aesthetics and visual communication is how we do that. It is what brings funding in. It's how you pre-sell. So there's something called the halo effect. And the halo effect is a cognitive bias where one positive impression influences how people judge other traits. So if they see you for the first time and you are well-dressed and well-groomed, or they see your book cover and it has good aesthetics and good typography and type font choices and all that, they are going to presume, they have a cognitive bias, and they just assume that you are more intelligent, more competent, and more trustworthy. And they're not even thinking about it. It just happens. And so you need to take advantage of the halo effect. So if we believe someone possesses one favorable trait, we tend to assume that they possess other positive qualities as well, even if we have limited or no evidence to support those assumptions. So this can impact all sorts of things. And the opposite is known as the devil effect or the horns effect. So if you have one negative characteristic, like you're not well put together or you're sloppy, they're going to assume a lot of other negative qualities for you too. The halo effect arises from our natural tendency to simplify and make sense of complex information. So examples of the halo effect: a manager evaluates the employee who is a fan of the same sports team more favorably than the employee who is not. A jury feels positively towards the person on trial because they are attractive. Well, if your brand looks polished, people are going to assume that your product is better. They're going to think that you're smarter, and they're going to think that your company is more legitimate. It's not fair, but it's real. Apple did this, Chanel, Hermes, Dyson. Dyson's a great example. They prioritize design, and Bang & Olufsen. These are products that prioritize design, and they're able to charge a lot more money for something that produces the same result. And the people who are buying these products, they're not just buying the product, they're buying how it makes them feel about themselves. So when in the dating world, you can have a girl who's super smart and useful, and she can make your life so much better and easier because she is high functioning. But if she doesn't present herself, the man might not like how she makes him feel about himself and his worthiness. This is a conundrum that a lot of women face, and why we prioritize our looks, because we know that this exists, and we know that our relationships depend on us looking a certain way. So that's why women will go through the very painful processes of cosmetic surgeries and literally go under the knife so that they will appear more attractive to their mate, because they want their mate to value them and keep them around. In consumer psychology, we know that people have an emotional attachment to things that are well designed because they like the way it makes them feel about themselves. So they're going to keep a Porsche around because it's well designed, because they like the way it makes them feel about themselves, even though they may never drive it. They still like to be the type of person who has high design in their life. So you want to make people proud to be associated with you, and design does that. When you have something that is high aesthetic, people will want to be associated with you, and that's why you make the investment. So in the thought leader space, you have people who are very smart, and they have a lot of solutions to the world's problems, and they have the ability to write a book that changes lives. But if they are not presenting themselves well, they will never get people to listen to them at all. So you have to captivate people, and you do that first through your personal aesthetics. So you build your wardrobe, you groom, you improve your posture, you improve visual signs of like confidence. And when people see a confident, put together person, they're more likely to listen. And when they listen, that's when you have the opportunity to change their mind about something. And only then will you help them transform whatever problem that they have. They have to listen to you and take the time to experience what you have to offer before they have the transformation. So in the Catholic moral philosophy, we have beauty, truth, and goodness. So first, you attract people into church with beautiful architecture and interior design and sounds, beautiful music, and then they stick around long enough to hear the truth, the message, And then when that information, when that philosophy is absorbed into their brain and mind, and they adopt a new belief system, it is in that new belief system where they transform into a good person. And you can use that same framework for your business. So you attract people to your product. And if your product is a book, it's the book cover, it's the video presentation, it's the retail space. You attract people in with beauty, and then they stay there because it's a beautiful environment, it's a beautiful experience, it's a beautiful software design or UX. They will stay long enough to experience the mindset adjustment, the new belief system. They can download what your offer is, and then once they've downloaded the offer, then life is better, life is good. They behave differently. You've changed the behavior, but first you lead with aesthetics. So you have your personal aesthetic, your human being, your grooming, your wardrobe, and then the brand aesthetic is the typography, the color system, the visual identity, the photography style, and then lastly you have your content aesthetic. So this would be your book cover, your thumbnails, your video production, the design consistency, and the visual storytelling. So those are the kind of like aesthetic levels. Work on yourself first, then work on your tertiary things. But if you want to read the book, Beauty First Method, Instantly Communicate Your Value, I'll link it below. The last thing I want to say is there is a gap between your taste and your style. And a lot of people, they have in their head their own personal taste, and they know what they like, but the gap between what's in their head and how they actually express themselves in the physical world, which is style. Your style is how you actually execute on your taste, and the gap in between what you feel like you're allowed to do. There's either you can't afford to express yourself the way you want with the wardrobe you want, you can't afford it, or you feel like there's social pressure, like you're not allowed on it. So you'll lose relationships if you were to express yourself and actually execute on this, on your taste. And so this is a really kind of emotional journey to go from like what you like to what you feel free expressing. And you really have to be honest about who you want to attract, and then go after, make an actual task list of like what retailers, what designers, what video producers, softwares need to be purchased, invested in, whatever, downloaded in, or do you need to just learn how to sew, whatever, what kind of actions need to be taken in order for you to express yourself in a way that attracts the relationships you want, right? So for me, I've been taking personal action a little bit on my wardrobe. I've been taking personal action on my hair. I bought this background to put on, which is, that took me time, and I had to go shop and buy, and like what kind of print could I craft a background for, because I didn't like what was there before. And I just want to give you permission. Shopping is not vain. Grooming yourself is not shallow. Shopping for clothes is not this girly girl fluffy thing. It's serious. It has real economic benefits. It has real relationship and networking benefits. And take the time to do this, because it will make everything else you build go faster and smoother. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.